Welcome everyone. As you said earlier, it's the first Awaken night of the year. Can we get one more round of applause for the music? That was fantastic, right? That was just great. We had some great people here make some great music. And Charlotte, coming up here and singing, and now she's done straight back to callbacks for the play that's going. So just doing that's awesome. It's great to see. I'm just super excited to kick off here. So a little bit of a preface for this, just for people that haven't seen me speak before, the new guys and girls in the room. So I'm just I'm very talkative with my hands, right? I got a lot of energy, I move around, so just be ready for that. I tried to control it on the ice cream chill out, but you guys all stayed over the weekend, so that means you're stuck here. And that means that I'm just gonna really unleash, and hopefully I don't scare you. And for the freshmen, I'm sorry you have to listen to me talk again. I know you've heard me talk like 30 times now since Welcome Week, and I promise this one, just stick with me, and I think that you guys are going to take something away from this message, and you probably won't have to hear from me for a while, so that's good. So tonight, I want to talk to you guys about the importance of faith and what makes a why. What makes my why? Why do I do this? Why do I get up every morning? What defines my life and how I got there? But before I got there, I must at least talk a little bit about my background, about my testimony. What happened to me to get me to this moment, to this year, to this time and place, to this pedestal right here. And that is going to involve my testimony. Now, for the people that were here last year, heard my testimony in chapel, I'm not going to give like a full in-depth like I did last year. This is going to be like 15 minutes of just my testimony, but it's something that I want to run through so you guys can understand where I'm coming from, what makes Ty Keller, because it's a lot. All right, let's get into it. So I grew up in a Catholic household. I was baptized Catholic when I was a baby, and yes, for a good time there, I knew more about the Mother Mary than I did Jesus. But this led to a very interesting childhood for me. And to be honest, I followed the ritual and kind of my parents' faith and how they believed, and not my own faith. I was going through every day, you go to Catholic Mass, a lot of sitting up, and sitting back down, maybe a little bit of kneeling. And I thought, oh, this is great, I've got God with me, this is perfect, right? But there was no heart for Jesus behind it. It was just me just kind of going there because my parents believed, and they told me I should believe, and this is how they grew up. So this really started some trouble for me as I'm getting older, because I'm a very curious person. I like to question everything. I like to know why everything is the way that it is. My mom said I was the perfect example of the kid that was asking why is the sky blue every 5 seconds, just because I wanted to know everything, right? So then this led to me even thinking when I was really young, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, about okay, how is there possible that there's a God, some creator, and other kids are playing Mario Kart and doing all that stuff, and I'm I wonder if there is a creator, how does that really apply to my life, and where can I make sure that I grow in that area, if at all, if it even does matter? And while the other kids are just in the playground playing kickball, and there's me sitting in the corner thinking about God. But when I started to go through my family started to go through some financial troubles, and I go through middle school, and there's some bullying there. I'm short and stocky now, and I've been short and stocky since I was 10. So that came with a lot of getting teased at and stuff like that. So my thought process then kind of devolved. I was I see all these bad things. I see my family going through financial struggle. I see my parents struggling. I see my sister struggling. If there's so much suffering in this world, if there's so much pain in this world, there's no way that there could be a God, right? Because if there was a loving creator, and I hear that God is love and God loves us, he would never let this happen. This isn't something that he would ever do. So there can't be a God. And that was that simple kind of thought that came into my mind. I became untrusting and cynical towards everyone and everything. And right alongside with this cynical lifestyle came my faith and anything that I wanted to believe in. I would probably say that now looking back, I was an atheist. There was no way that there could be a God. I see all these bad things happening. I'm a history nerd. I've seen all this stuff in the history that's all these bad things. It's yeah, there's no way God's real if all these bad things are happening. So the small amount of faith that I did have faith in. And now I'm experiencing this life where I have this idea that there's no God. And unsurprisingly, after I had a change in this thought process, things didn't get better. Things got a lot worse. So I'm going through 7th and 8th grade. Like I said, I'm getting bullied, I'm getting picked on. And then it comes down to the simple thought for me, what's the point of life? You know, and before I say this next part, I just want to say, like, I do love my parents, and they are the reason that I am the person I am today, and I love them with like just every fiber of my being. But when they would get in these fights and everything like that, and then I would sit at the top of the stairs and not sleep that night to make sure that mom and dad stayed away from each other. And I'm going through this, and it's just this thought process, this thing that's nagging like in my heart, that there's like this like empty feeling. And at that point, I thought, well, you know, I've seen some stuff happen on like, you know, online and on the news and different things there. And it led me to that one simple conclusion, that suicide is the answer, because life isn't worth living. So I thought, why waste my time in a world where I'm going to experience so much suffering, so much pain? So I'll just kill myself. Like, there's no point of living through life at all. And so I started to plan a suicide. I had this thought process of how I wanted everything to go. I picked a day that my parents and my sisters weren't going to be home, and I knew I'd be home alone. And I had this entire thought process broken down that this was what I was doing. I was going to end my life, and obviously that didn't happen. Right before I put my plan into action, it was kind of just like the realization moment of what I was doing. And I broke down. I remember I'm sitting in my room just crying on the floor. And like, I'd love to say that everything was fixed there, but I had a moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this whole God thing another try. I'm gonna open up the Bible, see what I find there. Because there has to be something better than this to life. There has to be something better than what I was feeling at the time, because it was a super low point for me. So that led to the following 4 years of high school, which is kind of like a weird spot for me, because I would say, like, you know, I believed in Jesus, but I wasn't really a follower of Christ. So I just kind of found myself in the middle, which was very interesting. But still, throughout that, you know, like I found God again, right? Like, I'd come back and I'd been like, okay, I believe in Jesus, but like I still felt lost. There was still something like in the back of my heart, that same feeling that I had when I was like, when I was a kid and I was like, you know, maybe just life isn't worth living at all. Like, that same nagging in my heart was still there, and just something felt wrong. And like, I had all these good things going for me, but I still had that kind of lostness in my heart. And then finally, I came to OCU. And while looking for a baseball career in just a few more years where I could play the sport I love, I found something much greater than I could ever imagine. All right. Now people were zoned out because they already heard a lot of the testimony last year. You guys can lock back in because we're getting to some new material. And we're going to open up with some scripture that I've just been absolutely loving recently. So Matthew 11:16. But to what shall I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplace and calling out to their playmates. This verse is a perfect example of Jesus being able to give words that were not only relatable to the people then, but we can still use and apply today. Right? So, at one point in time in our lives, we were all children in the marketplace, right? We've all been to Kroger, Walmart, been to the mall with our parents, just kind of seeing everybody around. I don't know about you guys, but I go to the Kenwood Mall in Cincinnati, and they have this little like play place, and that was always like when my parents were there, I was like dragging their arm, like I'm trying to get in there and be with all the kids and have fun there. But at this time in our lives, like when we are the children in the marketplace, like there's a lot of chaos, there's confusion. I mean, like, you know, like as a kid, you're just running around, having fun, just like going back and forth, like running over this way and see your teammates, and then you're running over this way, and you're like, okay, wait, what am I even doing? And you're just going back and forth and having a good time. And I like to take that comparison a little further, because, you know, you're running around, you're having this good time, you're at the play place or whatever, you're with all the kids. And then, like, for that split second, even if it's just for a split second, I think we can all know that feeling of when we lose our parents. So we're just sitting there, you know, we're having a good time, and then we look around, and all of a sudden, mom and dad aren't there. And even if it's just for a split second, we know, like, that fear and anxiety that just grips our heart at that moment of just, like, feeling lost. And like that nagging feeling at the back, even if it's just for a moment of lostness. And that's what we are as a generation. A feeling of being